What's going on, guys? Stormwolf here, and today we're taking a look at a mod called Ace Blood Magic. I know I've covered blood magic before in past videos, but I feel like this is the best example of blood magic simply because it actually does take your health into account with a lot of the spells that you will be using with this mod pack. So once you install the mod, the easiest way to find the tomes is to go talk to Farengar in Whiterun, and he should have the new spell tomes. You can tell if they are the spell tomes from the mod because they will have a new book cover that looks like something a blood mage would carry. Now, as always, since this mod pack does have quite a few number of spells, I won't be going over all 30. I will show, however, my personal favorite from the pack. So the first spell we're going to be taking a look at is called Absorb. A ball of blood will damage the opponent by 12 points for 4 seconds and will create a ball of blood towards the caster. Now this ball of blood will heal the caster for a small percentage of the health back. However, the ball doesn't necessarily track the player's position, so you will have to work towards actually gathering the ball once you see it. I'll show you what I'm talking about now. So here's our bandit. And as you can see in the air, there is the ball of blood. Now, as I said before, the ball of blood won't actually track the player, but it will try its best to actually track where it's located. And as you can see there, I got a little bit of my health back. So again, sometimes it goes far away from the player, sometimes it's close by. It's really random where the ball will fall towards. So it could be a really good or really troublesome spell depending on how you look at it. So the next spell we're going to be taking a look at is called Bloodhold. Keeps the enemy in place when used on a vampire. Bloodhold will also do damage to magicka, and that's something I forgot to mention a little bit earlier. Some of these blood spells will have an additional effects on vampires, such as damaging magicka, damaging stamina, or actually healing the player a little bit more, and that's something we'll get into a little bit later on. Alright, so here's another bandit thug. And as you see, I'm keeping him in place. Essentially, it's like bloodbending. For those who've watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, you know what I'm talking about. Next up, we have Blood Pump. Caster stamina regenerates 100% faster for 45 seconds. And this is actually a really good novice level spell. As you can see, my stamina comes back way quicker than it normally would, at least for 45 seconds. And while it may seem like the blood cost is low, something you guys should know is my health is around 500, so the health cost will not show as much if you put a lot of points into your health, and plus if you have the tome, the blood mage knowledge, it will actually decrease the cost of blood and magic that's required to cast a spell. So this is really good for a berserker class that really relies so much on stamina, so you can actually keep attacking, keep doing power attacks, sprinting, so on and so forth. So I find it to be a very, very useful skill to have, even if you don't actually play as a full-blown mage. It's actually really good for a warrior type class as well. Next up, we have Combined. As a last-ditch effort, the caster will use all of their current stamina and magicka to heal themselves. In addition, fortify health by 150 points for 30 seconds. Now this, as it says, is a spell that you will want to use if you have low health but you have high magic and stamina. Essentially what it does, it will completely drain your magic and stamina and refill your health. Now in order to better show this, we'll damage our health pretty low, and then we'll use the spell to kind of simulate what it would be in a combat situation. Alright, so now to use Combine. And as you can see, I drained up the majority of my health and stamina to actually regain that back. Now, you can cast the spell again if you have enough magicka, but the amount of health and the amount of health that you will gain back will be determined by the amount of magic and stamina that you have when you cast the spell. So for example, I don't gain as much health back because I don't have enough magic and stamina to actually sustain that. So it isn't so much an overpowered spell. Again, it's one of those spells that you would want to use as a last resort if you need to make an escape, or if you need just that right amount of health to finish off an enemy. So the next spell we'll be showing off is called Corpse Explosion. When fired on a corpse, an explosion will occur, destroying the corpse and damaging those in range in the blast. Now, I believe this also damages the player too, so this is something that you have to really be careful when you cast a spell around a group of enemies with the dead body present. There we go. Sorry that took so long to show off, but the damage is pretty minuscule. It doesn't do that much, but it is something that if you kill an archer and there's a bunch of other archers and mages around, it is actually pretty useful in regards to doing a little bit of damage in a small area. Next up, we have Cursed Death, which will actually tie into Life Orb, and I'll show that off right after Cursed Death. If the target dies within 30 seconds, a Blood Orb will be created. Only works with living targets, and Blood Orbs actually do play into Life Orbs. So for example, if we manage to kill this thug within 30 seconds, which shouldn't be too hard. His corpse will pop out a blood orb, and you can tell if you actually killed someone that has been cursed because you'll get a small notification within the left-hand side of the screen. So once you have blood orbs, you'll have a new item underneath the miscellaneous. Now these are actually going to be needed to actually cast the next spell here, which will go out of order, called Life Orbs. Use orbs to create life orbs around the caster. Each orb will restore health when the caster is in danger. Now, from my calculation, I believe each life orb will actually be activated once you're, I believe it's 25% health. Now, if you suffer an attack that takes off more than 25% of your overall health left, you will die and the life orbs won't actually revive you. So, we'll cast the life orbs. And as you can see, I have 3 life orbs, and I've used up 3 of the blood orbs that I had in my inventory. So we'll probably just summon one bandit here, and we'll let him chip away at my health, and we will see the blood orbs actually be activated. I'm sorry, the life orbs. And as you can see there goes one of the blood orbs activated. So around 20 to 25% health. We'll show it again. And there goes another blood orb. Once the blood orbs have been used up, you can summon 3 more, as long as you have the blood orbs in your inventory. So this mod can be a bit overpowered, but you have to remember, you actually have to have the enemy shoot out a blood orb before you can use life orb, and you have to use Cursed Death in order to do so. Now, this can be a problem because some enemies will not be affected by Cursed Death, so it's really important that you save the blood orbs until you really need them. I would say if you're going to be fighting a boss, or if you're going to be fighting at least more than 3 to 4 people as a melee or a mage type character. Next up, we have Enslaving Parasite. Creates a parasite that will slowly eat away at the enemy for 60 seconds. This parasite will cause the victim to become lulled. So we'll summon another bandit, and we will use Parasite. As you can see, the enemy is now affected with the parasite, and it's slowly drawing away his health and stamina. So this is a good small damage over time spell that you can use against people that are farther away, or for people that aren't really your priority, but you want to do damage to them anyway until you have the chance to actually take them out. So I like it. I think it's a pretty cool spell. One of my my favorites, though not as high as some of the other spells that you get within the spell pack. Next up, we have Hemisphere. Now this is just your basic blast, but it's actually a pretty cool effect, and I do enjoy it. So it does a ball of blood energy that does 52 points of damage. So pretty simple. But this will probably be your main initiation of attack as a blood mage if you decide to play as a mage only character. Does a fair amount of damage. And if you have the perk to be able to dual wield magic, you can actually charge both in both hands and shoot off a more powerful blast. So again, this would be your standard attack as a blood mage. Next up, we have Large Sacrifice. Absorb 75 points of health for 2 seconds from a companion. Now, some companions will be able to resist this. From my testing, a lot of the modded companions might resist this, but your vanilla companions such as Janessa will be affected by this mod. So as you can see, you're actually draining a bit of health from her. It's not as bad as you would think, especially since we're leveled up at a pretty high level, but actually drain a little bit of health here so I can kind of show you. As you can see, I pretty much drained a portion of her health for about 2 seconds. Now, if you keep casting this on your companion, they will, of course, turn against you and they will fight you. I've actually had this happen before, so just be careful of that if you're going to cast the spell repeatedly. Next up, we have Pool of Blood. A pool of blood that heals the caster based on the number of vampires slayed. Killing a vampire while active will cause the pool to absorb a vampire's essence and empowering the healing permanently. So, for example, while testing this, I killed about 4 vampires, so whenever I cast a spell, you'll see the number of vampires that you have absorbed and the small amount of healing that's happening as I stand within the blood pool. It's not much, but as you stack up against more vampire kills, the number will permanently increase. So this is really good if you become a vampire hunter or if you're doing the Dawn Guard quest and you decide to side with the Dawn Guard, as you will have your opportunity to kill a good amount of number of vampires. Now, in order to increase this pool, as the spell suggests, you actually have to kill vampires while the pool of blood is active. So we'll summon about 2 vampire fledglings and then we'll try and kill them off as quickly as possible so I can show you the actual absorption of the vampire essence. Okay, so we have a vampire summoned. I'm going to cast Pool of Blood. And we can see if we can kill the vampire while Pool of Blood is activated. As you can see on the top left-hand corner, it says Vampire Absorbed. And so that's how you know you will successfully be able to increase the power of the Pool of Blood. And you can check on the top left-hand screen. A while ago, it was only 5 vampires absorbed. Now I have 6 total. Now, the Pool of Blood is an interesting spell. I find that the healing is not as great as some of the other spells, but again, it all depends on how many number of vampires that you've actually slain within your quest of Skyrim. So I believe the higher number of vampires that you've killed and slain, the better the healing will be. So take that into consideration as you're watching this video and watch it as part of the mod. The healing might not be as great within the video, but you have to remember you need to kill more vampires for it to actually be more efficient. So keep that in mind. Next up, we have Risen Blood, and this is actually my personal favorite of the bunch. What it does is forms 5 defensive orbs in front of the caster. So, as you can see, 5 orbs was cast in front of me, and I believe they last about 15 to 20 seconds. It's not terribly long, but what this allows you to do, and we'll kind of get a little bit clearer of the Pool of Blood so you can have a bit of better visual effect on this. Before you initiate any combat situation, if you prefer to fight at long range, say with a crossbow or with a bow and arrow, and you find a bunch of melee characters, you can actually summon the orbs around you for about, again, 10 to 15 seconds, I believe, maybe a little bit longer. And if you have people coming towards you, which will summon a couple of bandits here, they'll run into the barrier here, and they'll do a good amount of damage before they even get close to you. So we'll run into that scenario here in a second. So we have a bandit here. See if we can actually get him to run into the orbs. As you can see, he's actually taking a pretty good amount of damage by running into the orbs. Now again, the intent of the defensive orbs is to actually have them cast out before you initiate any combat situation. So ideally, you would cast out the orbs, you would draw the enemy in, and have them run across these orbs before they actually engage in combat with you for a good amount of damage. Again, it's one of my personal favorites. I do like the visual aspect and the utility of the spell itself. So the final spell that will be shown off today is actually a power called Blood Infusion. When the caster's health is below 40%, the caster can infuse their blood into a weapon, allowing the weapon to absorb health. So, my health is below 40%, I cast the power, and if you look at my scimitar, which didn't have an enchantment before, as you can see, it has a temporary enchantment to absorb 10 points of health per strike. Now, that may not seem like a lot in my case because I have over 500 health, but if you equip them something like a dagger, which actually has a faster strike range, such as the like a dagger or the iron wakizashi, I believe that's how you pronounce it, you actually get back a fairly good amount of health. Or if you have a power weapon such as the steel greatsword, you can actually get a fair amount of health back with that as well. Now at higher levels this actually isn't going to do much for you, but at lower levels where you and the enemy kind of have on average 150, 175 health, those 10 points of health per strike will actually be very substantial. Later on in the game, however, during late game, not so much, but you'll have other things such as the life orbs or other means to actually get back your health as a blood mage. Alright, thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing, and if you are a subscriber, please hit the bell notification icon. Otherwise, you'll miss whenever I upload videos as per YouTube say so. So, I know it's dumb, but always hit the bell notification icon for any content creator that you want to see whenever they immediately post up videos. For those who want to check out the mod, as always, the link in the description will take you to the mod author's page. If you do decide to download and use the mod, please consider endorsing and saying thank you, as it will go a long way as they put in a lot of hard work and effort to make these mods. Thank you to the patrons that support the page. If you actually want to support the channel and do monetary means, check out my Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to behind the scenes videos, snippets of featured content, and have your name within the credits if you wish. So, that's going to be it from me. I will see you guys in the next mod video, as well as the next Skyrim Uchiha Clan video. Take care.